If you fear that I am near, here's a wise word in your ear. You may look forth and aft for me, but do so simultaneously ensures you will just look straight through me, even if I'm right behind me. I'm not a friend of man, I'll try to kill you if I can. I'm a lover of the night, I eschew threatening natural light. But I warn you, don't try to cross me. I tell you now that might be costly. I need you more than you need me, even though I may murder thee. The essence of your cells I seek to prolong my own final demise. But even so, I may not mind converting others to my kind. What am I? One distant summer, in Baghdad, where the roses perfume the night air, a merchant grew mistrustful of his wife. His name was Baghdaddy. Baghdaddy, his pants be pretty baggy. He's a real bad mamma jamma. He always be wearing that bandana.
Oh yeah.
And she was called Nadila. He was rich and powerful. She the daughter of an elderly scholar whose dark little house lay huddled in the poor quarter of the city. But when he first saw her in the spring of that year, her beauty wove a spell about him. Soon thereafter, he took Nadila from her timid parent and made her his wife. The house he brought her to had many rooms and courtyards, but Nadila seemed to care little for it. She drifted apathetically through the lengthening summer days, staying always in the cool shadows of the house, away from the sun that glared on the white walls outside and flickered among the palm fronds. She ate almost nothing, lost in some unfathomable reverie. She ignored the servants. Indeed, she appeared hardly to see her husband. But when the daylight faded and the lamps were lighted, Nadila brightened. The stirring evening breeze seemed to revive her, and she became the wife Abu Hassan desired, glowing and tender. Baghdadi noted the alteration, but put his wife's daytime listlessness down to the dust-laden heat.
Yo, girl, what's happening? You've been acting crazy. The heat got into your brain for real.
The coming of cool weather would restore her, he felt sure. His sleep each night was deep and dreamless. A night came, however, when Baghdadi awakened, suddenly in the dark. His wife was no longer beside him, and there was no sign of her in the room. He lay alert for some moments, but finally the soft pattern of palm branches moving outside the window drew him back into the embrace of sleep. He awakened again, only when the liquid wails of the mezzanines echoed over the town from minaret to minaret, calling the faithful to dawn prayer. Nadila had just returned. He watched from under the lashes where she removed her cloak and veil, and when she slipped into his bed, he lay as though asleep. The next night, she disappeared again. The third night, he followed her. She made her way down twisting streets and along the now quiet alleyways of the bazaar, finally halting at the gate of a walled house in the oldest quarter of the town. The gate before her seemed to spring open of its own accord. Clinging to the shadows for secrecy, Baghdadi followed his wife into a courtyard, down a winding stone stair and into a corridor. There, he paused, appalled at the sacrilege of entering such a place. The walls were lined with sarcophagi. This was a family tomb. He went on slowly, guided by the faint jingling of the silver bangles Nadila wore on her ankles and the whisper of her silken trousers. Before long, he came upon an archway. The jingling had stopped, so he peered around it cautiously. Beyond lay a stone crypt, faintly lighted by funerary lamps set in a niche in the wall, and close by the crypt, amid a pathetic jumble of bones and grave offerings, knelt his wife. When Baghdadi saw what she was doing, his heart lurched. Panting and whimpering, Nadila dragged a body from its coffin. She pulled an arm free, then with a high-pitched snarl, she bent her head and tore at the gray flesh with sharp little teeth.
My views be strictly puritanical. Be eating home dogs. That's straight up cannibal.
Baghdadi waited to see no more of the horror. He fled to his house. During that long night, he lay tormented by bleak and turbulent thoughts. His wife slipped into his bed again at dawn, heavy-eyed and flushed. He said nothing to her, but all through the next day, he watched her narrowly. She was no different from what she had been before. Vague, languid, clinging to the shadows and brightening when they lengthened and dusk returned. Baghdadi offered her food then. She refused it, but she smiled at him. And when he saw the white teeth flash, he could contain himself no longer.
Your appetite be a little strange, isn't it? Dead flesh we could get.
She stiffened. Her eyes began to glitter blindly, and her lips stretched wide in a mindless grin. Cruelly distorted her pretty face. Then, nimble as a cat, she sprang. Baghdadi was ready for her. With his curved knife, he stabbed his wife to death. He buried her at once, without ceremony, outside his walls so that his house would not be defiled. If the servants noticed his activities, they made no comment. Baghdadi was a stern master, and the strange and silent woman he had brought into his house to be his wife had found no favor with him. The trials of Baghdadi were not ended, however. He discovered this the third night after the killing. As he tossed and turned, staring out the windows at the stars that winkled between the palm fronds, his wife, or some ghastly simulacrum of his wife, came to him. She rose near the foot of the bed, from among the carpets and pillows on the floor. Her white shift clung to her in blood-crusted patches where he had stabbed her. One arm hung stiffly at her side. Her face was mask-like, the lips loose and the eyes sunken. Whatever animated her was not life. She moved with the jerking awkwardness of a marionette, and a foul necrotic stench veiled her. In a grim parody of wifely affection, she climbed onto the bed, where Baghdadi lay transfixed, and crawled leadenly over him, wheezing and mumbling as she moved. The nauseating stench grew stronger, the tortured wheezing louder. She bent her head, and her sharp teeth neared the tendons of his neck. Baghdadi threw the creature off and leaped from the bed, shouting for his servants and for a light. Within moments, the room was crowded with people, and the thing that had materialized from the night was gone. "Run, fast catch, her catch now, her now bad gone away, goodbye." Baghdadi went to Nadila's father and forced him to tell what he knew.
Which creature, hag, demon, she was a heathen.
Together, then, father and husband dug up the body.
How to kill a vampire. Find the body, dig it up, bring it to a Roman Catholic church, prepare a pot of holy water, boil the bones of a bat in a pot, purify it with mint extract, strain through priest's robe, sprinkle generously on the corpse. Draw the Star of David on the ground with goat's blood. Bind the corpse's feet and hands together with horsehair. Lay the corpses in the middle of the Star of David. Set 12 candles around the corpse. Light the candles in a clockwise fashion. Light the body on fire. Let the body burn to ash. Blow the candles out in a counterclockwise fashion. And sweep the ashes up in a teak wood dustpan. Spread the ashes generously in the nearest river. And that's how you kill a vampire.
And with that, Nadila never troubled the living again.